Thursday afternoon, hello there and welcome to The Pulse. We're coming to you live from our studios here in Accra. We're on your digital terrestrial TV because we are free to air. Catch us live on DSTV channel 421 and GoTV channel 144. This is JoyNews, independent, fearless and credible journalism. Coming up this afternoon on The Pulse, ratings agency Fitch warns of tougher times ahead for Ghana's banking sector should any attempt be made to restructure the country's debts as government prepares to meet the IMF team next week. We'll hear from President Akufo-Addo, who's also criticizing such international institutions as he laments every bullet and bomb that hits Ukraine hits the Ghanaian pocket directly.
Every bomb, every shell that hits a target in Ukraine hits our pockets and our economies in Africa.
We'll explore the claims of the president shortly. Stay with us as we also engage economists and some experts on the way forward on this matter. Also this afternoon, a phone dealer in his early 30s has been shot dead by suspected armed robbers in Kumasi. We're live in the region where, of course, we're getting the latest from the police service and circumstances surrounding this very incident. We'll also take you to the central region. A lot of talk about the gruesome murder of a prospective nursing trainee as we're learning that the pastor and a chief kidnapped, killed and secretly buried the 25-year-old that you see on your screens now. We'll talk all about that here on The Pulse, brought to you by Global Communities Dignilu Affordable Safe Sanitation. Remember that this afternoon we're streaming live on YouTube and all of our social media handles is at JoyNews on TV. I am Blessed Sogah. Always a pleasure serving you here on The Pulse. Please stay. Economy. Because President Akufo-Addo has lamented the impact of the Russian-Ukraine war on African economies. Well, he's this time saying that the war is having a direct impact on African lives. According to the president, just when the continent was recovering from the impact of the global pandemic, COVID-19, the war then struck, worsening the situation. Take a listen to the president as to how this time round he's describing the impact of the Russian-Ukraine war on the Ghanaian economy.
The Assembly will hear an address by His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, President of the Republic of Ghana. I request protocol to escort His Excellency.
Of international cooperation under which they purport to operate disappears. We do not have the luxury of being able to pick and choose which problem to solve. None of them can wait. The economic turbulence requires urgent and immediate solution. By 2021, COVID-19 had pushed Africa into the worst recession for half a century. A slump in productivity and revenue, increased pressures on spending, and spiraling public debts confronted us without relent. As we grappled with these economic challenges, Russia's invasion of Ukraine burst upon us, aggravating an already difficult situation. It is not just the dismay that we feel at seeing such deliberate devastation of cities and towns in Europe in the year 2022. We're feeling this war directly in our lives in Africa. Every bullet, every bomb, every shell that hits a target in Ukraine hits our pockets and our economies in Africa.
Well, so excerpts of what transpired last night, of course, when the president addressed the United Nations General Assembly. So let's get more on this. And is government not overstretching its focus on this issue of the Russian-Ukraine war? Joining me via Zoom now is Daniel Ochemabwaji. He is a former government spokesperson on finance. Thank you so much, sir, for your time here on The Pulse. So it appears that the government is fixated on making the Russian-Ukraine war an excuse for why we're not performing well in terms of our economy, because some other experts, for instance, the World Bank country director, is pointing out that the signs were on the wall of an economic recession even before the war. So how then do we believe government on this?
Let me say good afternoon to you. I'm not sure if you can hear me because I had a little bit challenges getting to hear you properly.
Yes, I can hear you, but you'd have to speak up for me so I can get the point you're making.
All right, good. I'm sure the president is just being consistent. All right, let me say good afternoon to your viewers and listeners yourself. The president is just being consistent. I mean, there's no, it's not untrue to say that the war has had significant effect on the global economy. I mean, he talks about inflation. It's affecting everybody. And if you're listening to his statement carefully, I can suddenly tell you it is really, really, very expensive to be poor. And we are a poor nation. I mean, we have so many issues that we are confronted with. And like he said, we don't have the option of choosing which one we'll have to deal with. And so I think he's just being consistent, even though people may disagree with him. That is his position that he's talking about. And I believe to a large extent is the case, even though we've already, as a developing nation, have had our own problems. I mean, we have corruption is a big problem in the country, and it's been with us for quite a long time. High deficits, we have revenue mobilization issues. It's low in terms of tax revenue. We depend a lot on imports, and we do export primary goods. So these fundamental structures are things that already exist. These are issues we have to deal with. On top of that, then we have Russia and Ukraine coming in, and of course we had COVID before that. And so as a developing country, this is really having an impact. It makes a point that if developed countries are increasing their interest rate, for instance, on their T-bills or even CDs, then we have to pay the price for it. You see capital living Ghana or developing countries or even Africa, because they are going to areas that are more stable. And so these kinds of things are really, really, what the challenges are. So I think he's just been consistent. And he had a platform and he just put it out there the way he feels about it.
And the latest we're learning, for instance, is that there's some sort of debt restructuring which is underway. It tells you the kind of pressure economic mismanagement is piled on Ghanaians, and not necessarily the external factors as you would want to point out to. Yes, indeed, there may be COVID, there may be the Russian-Ukraine war, but if we had not borrowed so much at the highest in this regime, the believers would have been faring better.
Can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me? I hope you can hear me. Daniel Ochemabwaji, are you with us? So definitely what we'll do is that we'll try and reconnect with Daniel Ochemabwaji, but because there's a lot more for us to explore. There's the issue about the international ratings agency, Fitch, which is warning government to actually back off any plans to restructure our domestic debts. Fitch actually says that any attempt to do this will put a lot of stress on the banks. Ghana's economy, as we do know, has in recent times received negative ratings from the various agencies. A situation President Akufo-Addo is unimpressed with, and had reason to question such outcomes during his address at the United Nations Summit, which we brought to you earlier. But let's try and reconnect with Daniel Ochemabwaji and to see if the lines are better now. If you can hear me, sir, I was just asking about the debt restructuring, which is imminent now, and how it may pile pressure on the banking sector.
Is that a question to me?
Yes, precisely to you.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear everything you said. If you can just...
Yeah, so it's about the debt restructuring.
The line is so bad.
Yes, so the debt restructuring, the fact that you're borrowing too much, a reason for which we're where we are today.
Well, it's just unfortunate, all right, that we had to explain ourselves by using some of these Russian war and COVID. I mean, to be honest with you, if you live in a country where revenue mobilization is low, it's probably about 12, 13% of the GDP, right? A lot more people don't pay taxes. There are leakages all over the place. The alternative to develop as a nation is to resort.
Daniel? So let's try one more time and do this. But first of all, we can listen to the president touch on the downgrade of Ghana's economy by the international ratings agencies.
Credit rating agencies have been quick to downgrade economies in Africa, making it harder to service our debts. The tag of Africa as an investment risk is little more than in substance a self-fulfilling prophecy created by the prejudice of the international money market, which denies us access to cheaper borrowing, pushing us deeper into debts. During times of crisis, the facade of international cooperation under which they purport to operate disappears. We do not have the luxury of being able to pick and choose which problem to solve. None of them can wait. The economic turbulence requires urgent and immediate solution. By 2021, COVID-19 had pushed Africa into the worst recession for half a century. A slump in productivity and revenue, increased pressures on spending, and spiraling public debts confronted us without relent. As we grappled with these economic challenges, Russia's invasion of Ukraine burst upon us, aggravating an already difficult situation. It is not just the dismay that we feel at seeing such deliberate devastation of cities and towns in Europe in the year 2022. We're feeling this war directly in our lives in Africa. Every bullet, every bomb, every shell that hits a target in Ukraine hits our pockets and our economies in Africa.
President Akufo-Addo there, and this time around, let's do it via phone because we're having some challenges hearing from you, Daniel Ochemabwaji. But you were talking about the debt restructuring and how, of course, we're not getting the true picture. What's the story?
Well, the point I was making is, if you can hear me on the phone call, it's that as a result of the inability to mobilize a lot of funds locally, and given our developmental needs, the fact that there's so many things we need to do as a developing country, you pretty much end up, borrowing more money. And if you really borrow and use the money for what it's supposed to do, you can develop and pay it back. However, if you look at what happened with COVID coming in and with all unplanned expenditures and reduced revenue and all those things, definitely the borrowing is going to happen. So I totally believe that the way to go is what the president has decided, that let's go to the IMF, we need to go to the fund and raise our hands, ask for help. We are members of the fund, and see how we can come out of this problem.
How about the experts' warning and advice that we may be stifling the banking sector?
Those are legacy issues, okay? We have structural issues before certain legacy issues that also came in recently. If we didn't have to spend the money we spend on the banking sector crisis, for instance, that those monies would be available for other developmental activities. So if you really want to explain, it's been also partly because of mismanagement of the economy, maybe, and you can blame anybody if you wish. Inefficiencies of the system, low productivity, even with public sector workers. These are all some of the factors that have been there. So if you say, I've spent about 1.6 billion or so on banking crisis, it definitely means that it's because you have to spend that money. You don't have money to do other things, or you have to resort to borrowing to be able to get going. So it can be used. Some of us have also even used the fact that, for instance, when Parliament, for instance, we saw Parliament fighting over the budget and all those things and exchange of blows and people taking away the speaker's seat. Those are things that can also let people be afraid of the system. When we expect you to make decisions, and of course, with all due respect, not to everybody, when we expect a parliament to make a decision, what do we see? We see a fight. And you expect investor confidence to be up? No. They will leave with your money. You're unable to make a decision on time. You want to pass revenue measures to be able to solve some of the problems from within. E-levy. What happened? People spoke against it, even though we have to find a way to make our ends meet. And all these things will put threats of fears in investors, and it will affect us. However, you look at it. people would take their money away because U.S. is doing better. Interest rate in the U.S. is increasing. And you will have such problems with depreciation of our cedi. Inflation is affecting you. And this is the challenge. So I'm sure we can explain with so many, many factors, including the Russian and Ukraine war, which is having inflation impact on the whole world. And it affects us as well, of course, not forgetting about COVID. So there are many, many causes for what our situation is.
Anyway, I would have to leave the conversation here. I'm grateful for your time, Daniel Ochemabwaji, joining us there. And of course, this afternoon engagements are also underway because the transport unions are mounting pressure for a review of transport fares as they're lamenting the issues surrounding the challenges facing Ghana's economy. Let's speak now to Samuel Amwa, who's a National Communications Member of the GPRTU. Samuel, thank you for your time. So at what stage are you now in terms of your dialogue with government?
Yeah, thank you very much. Let me say a quick good afternoon to your viewers out there. And what is happening now is negotiations and meetings are ongoing. As I'm speaking to you now, the leadership, is meeting the transport minister today. The meeting is supposed to come on by between 4:30 and 5. Actually, it should have, come on this morning, but it was postponed again to between 4:30 and 5. That is what we are looking for now. And we are still, pushing ahead that where the petroleum product is now, we have to still go by the increment that we are looking for. So as I'm speaking to you now, we've not come out with a percentage now or an increment now, since a meeting is ongoing until we are through with the transport ministries before we can come out with whatever increment that we want to.
Exactly what's the demand from the transport unions, and why are you facing that setback from the Transport Commission and those who are your stakeholders that you're engaging?
Come again, please. Let me be clear.
Why are you facing the setback from the committee, or the tripartite meeting that you usually do? Why are you facing that setback from government side?
Normally these things used to happen, and most of the time we are not very pleased or very happy about whatever what used to happen. But we believe our belief is that whenever the transport fares is being increased, it affects everything in the country, and we are thinking that maybe that is why the government is trying to push some things backward to see if something can be done about it. But what we are looking for is the reduction of the petroleum product. So as I'm speaking to you now, yes, we know there is back and front postponement of whatever meetings that we are holding. And I strongly believe that the ministry is not helping the whole situation, because if it happens like that, the drivers or the unions are also not happy about what is happening, because at the close of the day, all monies that they get, they use it to buy fuel and go home empty-handed.
Exactly what's your new demand now, and how much time do you have at least to negotiate with government on this?
Actually, we have given ourselves up to next week. By next week, at least, we have to hear something, because else what will happen is then I think we have to come out on our own, like it happened recently. That was way back May, when we came out with our own 20% without the approval of the government. And that is one thing we don't want to do. That is why we are still pushing that, they should have time for us to beat. Then we all judge, or we come out with an appropriate percentage that will help the drivers and the passengers as well.
What's your initial offer now, as we speak, in terms of what you're looking at, possibly from next week, if your increment is approved?
Come again, please.
What percentage are you looking at, your initial percentage that you're putting before government on this?
Oh, hopefully what we are looking at is, formally we were looking at 30%, but we recently, yes, it was within this week, the fuel was reduced about 60% or so. But if something at all, we shouldn't come down below 20%, upward adjustment of the transport fares.
So in all, in just 1 year, you're basically asking for 40% increment, if I'm correct, if my calculation is right.
No, we are not. We are not asking for 40%.
Yeah, I mean, you're doing this in just a space of 2 or 3 months since the last time.
Yes, actually.
Yes, but,
Yes.
but that's unbearable to Ghanaians, right?
Yeah, yes, but then when you look critically into our business and the component that we are using to run the business and how things are going, then that is how it should go. But then we have been a little bit considerate, or let me put it this way: we have been more considerate, because if like we should increase our fares, like by this time checking on the percentage that we used to use before we do increase our transport fares. Like by this time we should have increased it to about 2 or 3 times. But we have come to understand that hey, the system is very high, the system is very hot. We have economic hardship in the country. That is why we are considering this by coming down to 30 and even down to even 20. If we can be able to get 20, I think we'll be cool with it.
Where's the problem largely coming from, and what's influencing your stand decision? You're not compromising on the increment, because for you, whatever it takes, the prices must go up. What will it take to, have you rescind that decision? What factor, key factor, are you targeting?
Yes, thank you very much. You see, our major interest is not in increasing our transport fares. But there is this thing that I used to say, that whenever transport fares is being increased, our businesses goes down, because the number of passengers that do go to the stations to board vehicles reduces. So what we are looking for is the government to at least reduce the petroleum product, for it to come down a little bit. If it happens that the fuel comes down, yes, we will not push to increase our transport fares, because when we increase the fares, it doesn't help us. The passengers, the business women, the market women that we do carry them to their marketplaces to go and buy their stuff to come and sell. At the close of the day, we go there and buy it at a higher cost. So it's not helping us as a union. But that is why we are saying
so fuel prices, fuel prices, as you're saying, fuel prices is that key concern.
Come again, please.
The fuel prices, that's your key concern as a group.
Yeah, it's not only the fuel prices. We are looking at fuel prices. We are looking at spare parts. We are looking at lubricants, and we are looking at taxes. These are the major 4 components that we look at before we do increase our transport fares. And now all these areas has gone up. Fuel price is up. Spare parts are up. Engine oil that we used to buy it for 90 cedis, 100 cedis, now it's over 150 to 200 cedis per gallon. And it's not helping their business. So that is why we are also crying for this increment. So should all these things come down, we will not have any problem than to remain where we are, or even if it even come to the possibility for us to reduce per how these components are. I think we'll do that so that we all enjoy.
Where would you prefer that government begins a targeted solution in terms of the rebate or perhaps subsidies, because it appears that you're talking about taxes and then the fuel prices being a challenge. These 2 components, for one, in terms of the fuel prices, government may not have that absolute control in terms of what happens on the world market, but for taxes, at least something could be done about it. So what's your expectation in that regard as to how government should be approaching this?
Yes, we've been mentioning this for a long time ago about all these some major taxes that we think they have been placed on the petroleum products. We believe that is why the fuel price has gone high. So this time that we are in a critical situation, that is the country is facing this economic hardship, at least the government should sacrifice some of these taxes. Some of these taxes that we mentioned earlier on. I believe if he's been able to do this, at least the fuel price will come down a little bit. And also, I believe where the dollar rate is now, it's also too high. Should the government also do something about the dollar rate, for the dollar rate to come down? At least though that it goes out there to go and buy the petroleum product to come and sell for us, at least they will also get it at a lower cost, so that we also get it at a lower cost, and that will help us.
And about the spare parts, how does that feed into pricing anyway?
Yes, the spare parts is another problem that we are facing. My brother, now vehicles are parked at, workshops, without getting money to repair them. The driver will work at the close of the whole week. If it happens that the vehicle got broke down, sometimes we do even go and borrow money before we can be able to buy spare parts. And all these things is happening because of one, the dollar rate that has gone high. Two, the petroleum product that has gone high. So if all these things comes down, at least the spare parts will also come down for us to also get it at a lower cost. Then it will help the situation. But if it happens that the spare parts is still remaining how it is now, it won't help our business at all.
While you are at this as transport operators, I'm sure that you're mindful of the average Ghanaian out there who's equally having to pay more taxes and much more on a number of goods and services. Where do you place your customers in all of these demands that you're making?
Yes, what we are saying is that it's rather unfortunate things are going this way. And what we are telling our customers is that it is not in our interest to put them in this situation because we know everything has gone high. Electricity has gone high, water, everything has gone high. But for us to, get our peace of mind and to enjoy the business that we are doing, to serve them peacefully and honestly, with this situation that we are in now, what will help us right now, if the fuel price has not come down, is the increment of the lorry fares. And should that happen, we are pleading that is because of where the situation is taking us to. That is why it's happening like that. And we are pleading with them that they should bear with us because of what is happening. But if there is something that, we can all come together, put our heads together and pray and also push the government to do something about these taxes and dollar rate and all stuff so that the fuel price will come down, then we'll also serve them peacefully.
And back to the government negotiations, so far in terms of your engagement, what do you see government's posture to be in all of the demands that you're making? And what's your expectation?
Come again, please.
In terms of the negotiations that are ongoing, what do you see to be the posture of government on some of the demands you're making? And are you suspecting that they may be making any concessions in the coming days, just to adjust to some of the demands that you're making?
Yeah, what we are saying is that government is trying to play a role whereby if even we will increase our transport fares to not go high, and at the same time looking at it to see if there is something that they can do to bring the petroleum product now. Because we started this negotiations and these meetings since about a week or two, when recently they came out with this small reduction. So what we are seeing is that they are trying to play a game where they think maybe something can be done so that we will not come out with any increment.
Are you able to tell us what will happen if at that tripartite meeting government rejects the proposal for an increment and what the implications could be?
Should the government reject it?
Precisely.
Yes. If the government rejects it at this situation, at where the fuel price is now, I think we can't hold it. Then it means that maybe the government want to take us off our businesses. It doesn't want us to run our business again, because the proposal that we have sent to him, explaining things, calculating things to show them where we were and where we are now. And if they come out that they are rejecting our proposal outright without giving us any percentage, then it means that they want to get us out of our businesses. And I think we can't take it. And should that happen, I think we have to go back and advise ourselves.
I'm sure that there are some of viewers now who are yet to come to terms with how the transport sector has been consistent on making that argument that you constantly want a rise or a hike in prices, particularly when for some you have your vehicles moving all the time and your sector has not been significantly impeded by all of these economic meltdown and all of that. Your cars keep moving. So how do you explain that to the average Ghanaian out there who walks up to you to say, you're not being fair to us?
Meaning we are not being fair to the passengers. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Oh, for that one, I think most of the passengers, do they do sympathize with us, because some of them do have their vehicles. Some of them do have even packed their vehicles and now joining Trotro. Why?
Hello, Samuel. Okay, we've lost Samuel there, but let's do some politics now. For months, rumors have been rife that the General Secretary of the Opposition National Democratic Congress, Johnson Asiedu Nketia, was lacing his boots to run for the National Democratic Congress's chairmanship position, leaving the General Secretary position or office that he has held for close to 2 decades. Mr. Asiedu Nketia obviously is now confirming as of yesterday that he will not seek another term as the party's general secretary. Well, this actually paves way for a number of contestants, including Samuel Ofosu-Ampofo, for the chairmanship slot. Well, quick question to you of our political desk as this report on what is said to be an intriguing fight between the two giants.
General Mosquito, as Asiedu Nketia is popularly called, has been the NDC's general secretary for the last 17 years. Shrugging off contests and winning easily, Johnson Asiedu Nketia is seeking a change of environment, it appears, and is said to be eyeing the job of Samuel Ofosu-Ampofo, who is currently the national chairman of the party. A number of persons, including Asiedu Nketia's deputy, Peter Boama Otukono, have all indicated their readiness to replace him, deepening rumors that Asiedu Nketia was preparing to go in for another challenge. After months of speculation, General Mosquito says he will no longer contest for his current position.
17 years. There be any why Congress Yamanya below 80%.
For the last 17 years, there's been no internal election where I've had less than 80%.
Obia ubisa obia general nkode ameko. Look
at all these persons who want to run for general secretary.
I say, me consider Sunday man Enti the make say general secretary no there. Take it from me, Uncle Bill.
But he is not planning to retire. And the conversation for the last few months has been that Asiedu Nketia will be seeking to rival Ofosu-Ampofo for the national chairmanship position. Indeed, some have claimed the elders within the NDC have been trying to broker a deal between the two due to the potential division such a contest will cause within the NDC. Asiedu Nketia says such fears are unfounded and all but confirming that he will be running for chairman.
Matiti say, Ebinumo Kase, Asiedu Nketia Nkwande one Ampofo Koprea, party Numu Beche, Echako Hefa.
I've heard people say if I contest with Ofosu-Ampofo for the chairmanship, the party will be divided. How will that happen? The party only last week announced a roadmap which will culminate in the election of national executives in December of this year. This contest, if it comes off at all, will test the strength of the party, even as they resolve to win the 2024 election after losing the last two. For JoyNews, Kweku Asante.
Let's get some further analysis on this. Joining me via phone now is a political analyst, Ben Efsin. Thank you, sir, for your time. So what do you see to be the chances of Johnson Asiedu Nketia going into this likely contest with the chairman, Samuel Ofosu-Ampofo?
Hello?
Yes, Ben Efsin. I was just asking what you feel the chances of Johnson Asiedu Nketia will be running against the incumbent chairperson of the NDC, Samuel Ofosu-Ampofo.
Well, thank you. I don't think the party will be divided. It will be a very strong contest, and it depends on how the party elders handle it. My suspicion is that post John Mahama, the NDC is likely to try and look for an Akan presidential candidate for 2028, whether Mahama wins or not. And between Ampofo and Asiedu Nketia, whoever wins the chairmanship slot will be in pole position to be the candidate for 2028. I mean, the others will contest. So it depends on how it is handled. I mean, definitely, as Seydou Nketia, I know, has met some regional executives and has expressed confidence in them that he will be contesting for the national chairmanship of the NDC.
This is by far one of the longest-serving general secretaries of the opposition party. His decision to vacate such a strategic position may come at a cost to the political party now that they, more than ever, would want to come into political office.
Please come again. You're a bit faint.
Yes, I was just talking about the decision of Johnson Asiedu Nketia, who happens to be one of the longest-serving general secretaries of the NDC.
Yes.
Leaving a strategic position where the party believes they would need expertise in dealing with issues of coming back in 2024. So his decision to vacate that position may cost the NDC, don't you think so?
I don't think so. I think that with his experience, across NDC, being in power and being in opposition, I think that as a national chairman, he will be able to control the party, and whoever becomes, I think the general secretaryship is between Mr. Free Ankra and Otokuno. Whoever becomes the general secretary with a strong chairman, whether Mama wins or loses 2028, the party will be built in a more stronger position. As you and I speak now, the NDC is between and between. Definitely it's looking likely that Mahama is likely to be the 2024 flag bearer. But there are going to be a lot of difficulties within Mahama's way towards 2024 because of certain things that he had done. So 2024 is going to be quite tricky, and I think the party needs a very strong national chairman. I think that I will not be surprised if Asiedu Nketia and Fosun Popo are tied, and one vote needs to decide who will be the winner. I'll be surprised if John Mahama decides to vote for Fosun Popo. But don't underrate Asiedu Nketia's ability to beat Fosun Popo. It will be a very tight race, and like you said, if the elders in the party structures have a fair election, the NDC will be stronger going to 2024. If there are attempts to try and put impediments in one candidate's way, the party will be very weakened for 2024.
Johnson Asiedu Nketia is leaving his position for some of the names that we're hearing of already. There's Fifi Kwete, former Deputy Finance Minister.
Please go again.
Yes, I'm saying Johnson Asiedu Nketia is leaving in his wake. Some other names that may want to run for that position of General Secretary. There's Elvis Free Ankra. We're also hearing of Fifi Kwete and some other persons who are interested in running as General Secretary. But at least with the two names that we're hearing of, Fifi Kwete and Elvis Free Ankra, what do you see to be the chances of these candidates, including the deputy, Otokuno, who's also, trying to put himself up for contest in that race?
Well, I think that of the three candidates you've mentioned, given the experience of Elvis, in terms of Otokuno has been Asiedu Nketia's deputy, but I think that in terms of people having worked in NDC, gone through the levels, if I was a delegate and the three were tied, for a strong party, because to have a strong election, I think that Free Ankra will be very strong for the NDC, because 2024, my brother, is not going to be chicken feed for any of the two parties. The MPP is going to have the new candidate, and the NDC will want to keep the tradition of 8. MPP want to break the tradition. And I think that of the three, Elvis, with his experience in the party, I think that will be a very strong General Secretary for 2024.
You don't see Otokuno, for instance, bringing
Pardon?
on. You don't see Otokuno, for instance, bringing on board his experience as Johnson Asiedu Nketiah's deputy while he was serving. I mean, he's still serving now as the Deputy General Secretary.
Oh, I think you asked my opinion, and I think that yes, I'm sure there will be many delegates. Otokuno being Asiedu's deputy, if Asiedu wins the chairmanship, that could be a disadvantage to Otokuno, because many people would prefer that, for example, if Asiedu Nketiah is elected as the chairman, they wouldn't want to bring in somebody who will say, yes, master, in terms of obeying Asiedu as his boss, the General Secretary's chair. I think that, yes, Mr. Priyanka will respect Asiedu Nketiah as chairman if he wins, and he'll be able to be more firm and say no, Asiedu Nketiah than Otokuno will do. So while Asiedu Nketiah's success will be good for Asiedu, that would impact negatively on Otokuno's chance as General Secretary. And
ultimately, this will lead to the flag bearership contest. Two names, we've not heard of a third name emerging yet, but it's got to do with the former Finance Minister, Dr. Duffuor, and John Dramani Mahama. He's not made public his statement on whether or not he'll be returning to lead the NDC or to even contest the primaries. Do you see Dr. Duffuor being a perfect replacement for John Dramani Mahama?
If you're asking whether between Mahama and Dr. Duffuor?
Yes, but we've not heard from John Dramani Mahama yet officially as to whether or not he wants to contest. We've heard from Dr. Duffuor. So going by that, will he be a perfect replacement for the former president?
Oh, I think that Dr. Duffuor is going to bring liveliness in the party. Obviously, Mahama is a favorite. I mean, but Dr. Duffuor's Ahunto project means that John Mahama will be spending more money. You see, Duffuor's Ahunto project kind of gives power to the grassroots. In the sense that they will have money and so on. I mean, Mahama has been having it relatively easy in winning the flag bearership races within. There's quite some time, so he has the advantage of being marketed. But I think that Duffuor, what's likely to go against Duffuor will be whether the campaign will be smooth, and whether Mahama would decide to take Duffuor. We need to bear in mind, my brother, that anytime NDC has won the presidential elections, if NDC gets 35% in Ashanti, 42% in Eastern, they would win. Well, for example, Duffuor as running mate make a difference in getting Ashanti votes? Will Duffuor as running mate be able to appeal to the business community? The other downside is that the party might want to take, the party might want Mahama, if he wins, to take a running mate who could possibly be the candidate in 2020, because if Duffuor is running mate and the ticket wins, both of them will be leaving. Clearly, Duffuor will be passed, will be quite aged in 2028.
Is this, Benefsin, I'm sorry, but is this a vote of no confidence on Professor Jane Nana Opoku-Agyeman?
Pardon?
Is this a vote of no confidence on Jane Nana Opoku-Agyeman?
Vote of no confidence in?
Jane Nana Opoku-Agyeman.
No confidence in Akufo-Addo? No, I'm saying that...
No, I'm talking about the running mate, the 2020 running mate, Professor Jane Nana Opoku-Agyeman.
Oh, I think that John's running mate, you see, what people don't remember is that I don't think that since 1992, Central Region has been the most detribalized of all politics. And I don't think that there's anybody from Central Region who has been so popular than Professor Moore. But President Kufuor beat Mills in 2000, 2004. And Mills won in 2008. And I can tell you exclusively, one of the reasons Mills won in 2008 was that he turned down the choice of the late Rawlings as his running mate. I'll mention the person's name because the person is still alive, and chose his own running mate, Dr. Mahama. I did work while Kufuor beat Mills in Central, and it was because Mills had said he would consult Rawlings morning and evening, and they said they were tired of Rawlings. So fast forward, repeating the 2020 running mate, not that of lack of no confidence, but what did she bring onto the table? People will not vote for a running mate from Central Region because he's from Central Region. The Central Region does not have the vote. So I think that there may be a general consensus that Mahama must change the running mate and perhaps pick somebody who would add value to the ticket. Bear in mind, my brother, 4% on the average vote because of ethnic base. 4%.
The EIU, for instance, is reporting that the chances of the NDC is much more better going into the 2024 general elections, but they would want a new candidate to revitalize their chances. Do you share entirely the projections in this forecast?
I think that the EIU projections are general projections which can be valid at any time. Currently, maybe in 6 weeks' time, my 7th book on Ghanaian elections will come out. I've done what happened in 2020, and I can tell you exclusively on your program that the results of 2020 confirms what I had always suspected, that a third of Ghanaian voters are swing. Only a swing voter will go to a polling station, will vote for an opposition party's parliamentary candidate, and then vote for the ruling party's presidential. Moving ahead to 2024, my brother, there are a few indicators that will be crucial in determining whether MPP can break the 8 or whether the NDC will continue to keep the margins of 8. It's not going to be easy for the two parties. I think that one of the major reasons I can also say in your program that Mahama lost so hugely. I mean, the NDC got 30 or 32 seats, they lost back, and Mahama lost by more than 500,000 votes. Well, that as a communicator, I think Mahama failed himself in terms of his attitude towards free speech. You see, if Mahama had said that, look, in 2016, I was against free speech, Akufo-Addo has proven in 2020 that it can be done, then I'll continue. Perhaps it would have gone for a runoff, but saying that he will embark on a progressive attitude, progressive free speech, it was construed to mean that he still felt he could cancel the free speech and do something else. And I think that was his undoing. So with a third, my brother, of voters are swing, you take the voter granted at your own postal rate.
Interesting times ahead, but we'll have to leave it here. Thank you for your time, Ben Efson. Well, still on the NDC, the General Secretary aspirant of the opposition NDC, Elvis Afriyie-Ankrah, has criticized former Finance Minister Dr. Kwabena Duffuor over his junta project. Dr. Duffuor indicated that the NDC's base is not motivated and that branch leaders of the party are not incentivized for their work, saying that the junta project will fix that. But speaking on PM Express, The Office of Re-Ankara indicated that the branch leaders of the party are not paid for their services. Listen.
The party is made up of volunteers, okay? We're all volunteers. Nobody pays us, okay?
You're not paid?
No. Who
when you were the
pays
Deputy General Secretary?
No, nobody pays you.
But the General Secretary is paid.
I know. I was a lecturer. I was a full-time lecturer at UPSA. Okay, when I was Deputy General Secretary, I was a full-time lecturer. Nobody gets paid.
Party as executive at the national level.
Nobody gets paid. It's voluntary. Where in the Constitution do it? So, like I said, I did not Evans. No, you did not bring me here to come and discuss candidates and all that.
Let me tell you why it's a links. When you started, you said your strong suit is your base, the grassroots that you appeal to. I'm just referencing somebody who says that base you're appealing to is a broken base.
No,
because he wants to fix it.
Hold on. Again, context is very important.
Yeah.
It is that same base that worked very hard for us to get the 142 seats, out of which 5 were stolen by MEDA. Okay, that same base. And this is how the party has been on a voluntary basis. If you want to introduce innovation, okay, how do we fund our party? That's a conversation that has been going on continuous. And you know I'm an advocate for us looking at how we fund political parties, something that I'm very passionate about.
Yeah.
But you cannot come to a general conclusion and say branch executives are not paid. When you're campaigning for position, you don't advocate that you should be paid. It's voluntary. It's just like any other voluntary organization. You are not paid. So I have difficulty in this kind of the branch executives are not paid. Therefore, of course, there are difficulties, there are challenges. Party executives at the branches are not paid.
He said that.
Okay,
he said that.
It's not correct. Anybody who says that,
but they are not paid. But you said that
hold on. I have good reason to believe, and been in this business for a very long time.
Yeah.
I'll be very surprised if he actually said that.
He said that. In fact, his point was that he wants to give them money. They can raise funds.
Hold on.
Pay
There's
themselves.
a world of a difference between saying you want to help finance the party through various activities and saying party branch executives are not paid. So what about those who go and vote? Should they be paid? So you see, it's a very, 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 very simplistic posturing to take that, we don't pay the branches. We don't pay them. But of course, they do a lot of activities that require funding. And at any given time, that's why when it comes to elections, people make donations to sell paraphernalia and all those things. And indeed, when he brought this project, we welcomed it, that it was good. The only issue is that is the modalities, there's been misunderstanding about how it's to be implemented. So,
thanks for staying with us here on The Pulse. We'll return shortly after these messages. Come back. Fundila, in his early 30s, Wahab Abdul, has been shot dead by suspected armed robbers in Kumasi. The robbers made away with 2 mobile phones. Residents are indicating that Wahab was shot twice in his stomach. Let's get more from Lava Firm's Nanaya Ochemabwaji, who's been speaking with an eyewitness and joins us live via Zoom on this. Nanaya, what's been the account of those who've witnessed this gruesome murder?
So, according to the people who I interacted with, around midnight, the people, that's gun-wielding men, came to Wahab's residence where he lived with his girlfriend, and they broke into the room and went straight into his bedroom, demanding that he gives them the money he had on him. He didn't have any money, referring them to his mobile phone, which has all the amounts that he had at the time on. So they took the mobile phone, and there was a bit of struggle before they could get the mobile phone from Wahab. And they also took a mobile phone that is owned by the lady that he had in the room. So when they got 2 of the mobile phones, they later went ahead and shot the victim twice, according to the eyewitnesses. That was when people heard gunshots and rushed into the home to find Wahab lying in a pool of blood. So the eyewitnesses and other people who were around tried to get Wahab to the hospital, for a nearby hospital, for first aid. He was later transferred or referred to the Komfo-Anokye hospital, where he was pronounced dead around 3 a.m. So that's what the people that I I interacted with at the residence of Wahab have been telling me.
And what about the residents and how are they feeling as we speak?
The people are still in shock. According to them, the Oshim area have recorded a series of robberies. Often they meet people, armed men, who have either knives or cutlasses or machetes, and with these implements, they take away their mobile phones and some of the items they have on them, that they are property of these individuals. Sometimes they go out, come back to meet their homes broken into. But to get people coming into your home and with guns and pointing at people and shooting them, it's not something that they record often or they don't see at all. It's a rare event that's happened this dawn. So the people are surprised and shocked by the incident, especially when the people will not take his other belongings aside the mobile phones, because according to residents, he had a vehicle which he is here to register. So if the armed robbers really had come for his property, at least they would have made away with the vehicle and other personal belongings that he had in the room. But unfortunately, aside his life and the phones that they could take from the people who were in there, they didn't take anything, other properties that he had. So some people are also thinking that it could be contract killing or something because of the kind of job that the victim did. He was one of the huge mobile phone dealers in the city, according to the residents within the area. Right. So some people are suspecting foul play in his death.
I'm suspecting that the security agencies are beginning to act on this. What more do we know about the actions of the police service?
So the information that I've been gathering is that few hours after the incident, that's this dawn, the police patrol team were at the house in the area to make sure that, to sweep the area to find out if they will be able to get some of their culprits. But unfortunately, they couldn't arrest anybody. This morning, I know that a team of investigators have been to the house, taking some exhibits and, gone through the process at the house. So they've started the investigations, and it's expected that the police will be able to arrest some of the people who perpetrated such a crime.
Nana Ochemabwaji joining us from the Ashanti Regional Capital, Kumasi. Thank you. Let's take you to the Central Region now. A Cape Coast District Court has remanded a self-styled Pastor Michael Dako and some others in the area, who's also a local chief, and Clark Kwanzaa, to police custody. The two are alleged to have actually kidnapped, killed, and buried Georgina Yaboche in one of the uncompleted story buildings in the area for ritual purposes. They have been charged with attempting to commit crime, with murder and murder itself, and they are to reappear in court on the 4th of October 2022. Richard Kojinyako has been monitoring that and comes through with this report.
Nana Onya Clark, the Tufuhin of Ekumfi Aquacrum, one of the two suspects in the killing of a 22-year-old aspiring trainee nurse in Mankasim, was picked up at his hideout at Aquacrum in the Kumfi district. This was after a pastor confessed to helping him kidnap, kill, and secretly bury the lady. After the confession, the pastor led police investigators to the location where they buried the 22-year-old lady. The pastor is said to be the boyfriend of the sister of the deceased. He is alleged to have picked the deceased after her interview at the Ankafo College of Nursing. Georgina Asobbuche went missing for 3 weeks. According to the family, the pastor and the chief first demanded a ransom of 15,000 Ghana cedis from them before they released the deceased. The police stated that after the family failed to pay the amount, the chief and the pastor allegedly killed the lady, buried her inside the chief's kitchen for ritual purposes. On Wednesday, the Mankasim District Police Command arrested Nana Clark Onya and had him transferred to the Regional Police Command in Cape Coast to assist in investigations. Central Regional Crime Officer, Chief Superintendent David Jabbar, confirmed the arrest and says both suspects are in regional police custody. He wants the public to give the police the maximum support to deal with miscreants in society.
Suspects were Cape Coast. They are now in police custody.
The two suspects are now in police custody. What I would tell the general public is to have faith in the police and trust that we can do a good job. You can attest to the fact that we have not slept on the job on this matter. Crime combat is a shared responsibility and not only the duty of the police. Assist our officers to deal with crime in your various areas.
Mankasim ha, your able officers were ha. Mankasim district officer ni. Crime officer ni. Information biya ebe boa bambono. Monfa mawo ya de beye juma. Na ye de aboban aboa Mankasim man. Ani ye nyina ayebo.
Angry residents of Mankasim are calling on the police to deal ruthlessly with the two to serve as a deterrent to others. They should be stopped and humiliated, and I pray the Lord deal with them.
I
am angry. If the chief were standing here right now, I would have hit him with a stone. I have nieces, and if anyone does that to any of them, I won't take kindly to it. I suggest they strip him naked, tie a rope around his manhood, and parade him through the street to serve as a lesson for others. Meanwhile, the police say the two will continue to assist them with investigations while they prepare to put them before courts. Reporting for JoyNews, Richard Kwejenyako, Cape Coast.
And now an agricultural policy advisor has supported calls for government to wean off farmers from fertilizer subsidies. A joint police and national security operation last week saw over 500 smuggled bags of cocoa fertilizer impounded. In an interview with JoyNews, Abraham Jomo Odum, the indication is that such policies have often been counterproductive given the lack of supervision and poor implementation. He says that it's time to approach agri as a full commercial venture.
You see, for far too long, we have looked at agriculture as a developmental item. But I believe that we need to place agriculture where it has to be. It's an industry, like the IT industry. We used to have government, P&T, telephone, blah, blah, blah. But the moment it was put into the private sector, look at how telephony has gone to. So I believe that we need gradually create an environment. Government can do some kind of support, some kind of arrangement, creating an enabling environment for private sector to set themselves up and then trigger. Because, why do we say that the private sector is the engine of growth? When we say the private sector is the engine of growth, we need the private sector to come and help us develop the industry, right? So what the point I'm making is that, yes, we need to support the private farmers, but let's have it as a mindset that we have goals. We are supporting up to a point. The farmers must be able to handle themselves in the long run. And that will be more sustainable than always government helping. Because, you see, the irony of the issue is that if government is trying to help, you put money into the system, And what is happening just 3 days ago? What happened? Money that is meant to subsidize would end up in the private pockets. And that is what I hate. Because, I mean, how can we be so hypocritical? How can we say that we are helping the farmers? Meanwhile, what is coming out is ending in the pocket of some private people. So me, helping farmers throughout their life is something that I don't think is sustainable. What we need to do, set a platform for them, get them off. When we did the cocoa high-tech, I remember at Chufupraso, there was one farmer that I was able to set up who could buy 300 bags of asasura. And in 2003, he was the best cocoa farmer in the whole country.
Obviously, time now to focus on some other issues. Amaja Tubular Services Limited, a joint venture between Tenaris and Amaja, has commissioned a 2-unit classroom for the people of Kwame Krom in the Ahanta West Municipality of the Western Region. The facility, which had served the community for a long time, was reconstructed following various appeals by the chief and people of the area.
Teachers and pupils of Kwame Krom Basic School in the Ahanta West Municipality for more than a decade studied under frustrating conditions which did not support improved academic performance. The dilapidated building was a threat to the safety of pupils, teachers, and some residents. Teaching and learning were halted anytime it rained and was greatly obstructing during the peak of the raining season.
This is where we were on Friday. Then the rain started. We were here since Monday, but nothing happened. But unfortunately, Friday the rain fell. So because of that, the roofing removed, and we went to that class just because of the rain.
I and my colleagues are sitting. Whether I have the disease or they have, I can't tell. So I want to plead. Everything that I will say is pleading. The government should help us because we are suffering a lot. The disease is not gone, so the government should help us. This is what I want to tell the government.
The plea of the people caught the attention of Amaja Tubular Services after JoyNews visited the school when the roof of one of the classes was ripped off during the raining season last year. Commissioning the project's managing director of Amaja Tubular Services, Frederick Okla, said the project will replace the life-threatening structure which was used as a classroom for the past decade. He said providing an enabling environment for the school would eventually accumulate into improved performance among the school pupils.
The edifice is a 2-unit classroom block, and each unit is designed and furnished to accommodate a maximum of 50 pupils or students. We actually began the construction of this facility in May 2021, and we had it completed in August this year. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, studies show that the physical condition of school buildings positively affects school completion and interest of the students. Our conviction as an organization, however, is that Kwame Krom DA Basic School is well positioned by this intervention to increase school enrollments and improve teaching and learning under conducive environments.
Municipal Chief Executive for the Ahanta West Municipal Assembly, John Ajari, who graced the occasion, said the intervention would mitigate a major challenge of the school. He, however, called for maintenance to sustain the project.
Government alone cannot satisfy our needs. Therefore, when we are fortunate to get companies coming to our aid, then I think it's a very good example, and we need to applaud them. To the teachers and the community, Amaja company will come back to see what we are using this thing for. Sometimes, when such a thing is being built for a community, what we normally do is that we say it is a government project, and maintenance and other things is left for the government to do it. Madam Headmistress, and then the people of Kwame, let Amaja come back to see these beautiful artifacts being there, very nice, and when they see the beauty of it, they will come and do more.
Headmistress of the school, Hannah Kuntu Amponsa, expressed gratitude to Amaja Tubular Services for helping solve the major challenge as a school.
Thankfully, Amaja Tubular Services came to our aid with this beautiful 2-unit classroom, completely finished block. We highly appreciate their gesture. Like Oliver Twist, we can always ask for more. Amaja, in fact, you do all. Thank you very much.
For Joy News in Athalia Kwanza, Western Region.
And our child health care project has been launched in Techiman municipality of the Bono East region to help reduce neonatal and the 5 mortalities across 7 districts in the Bono East and Bono, as well as the Ashanti regions. The project, spearheaded by the Jacob Christian Adam Foundation, is to, amongst other things, help improve pediatric health care, as well as bring healthcare delivery closer to the people in the beneficiary communities. And NASABIT has been following up on that in our reports.
Over the past 2 decades, both under 5 and neonatal mortality rates have been declining. However, the rates at which neonatal mortality is declining is lower than that of the under 5 mortality. Here in Ghana, birth injury and asphyxia, prematurity and infections are the major causes of neonatal deaths, with majority of these deaths occurring in rural areas due to the absence of basic care and equipment in rural health facilities. To help check this and reduce the menace, a regional network of excellence in child health care project has been launched in Techiman. The move, according to the country director of the Jacob Christian Adam Foundation, Martin Vilden, is to help improve pediatric health care across the beneficiary regions.
We cooperate to support cooperation, and the beneficial facilities should really take good care of the medical equipment they are receiving. They are receiving also a lot of training, and we would love to see them put it into very good practice, so that we can also, after 3 years, see in the statistics, yes, neonatal mortality has come down, the referrals, the numbers have come down, so that we can really prove to those who are providing the funds, yes, this project was a success.
Dr. Paulina Clara Apia is the Deputy Director in charge of Public Health at the Regional Health Directorate. She noted that the equipments would go a long way to help minimize referrals from the 7 beneficiary districts, which would in turn reduce the region's neonatal deaths.
As a region, neonatal deaths are a big concern to us, including even the first stillbirth. And the equipment that they provided, the Firefly, which would manage children who are born and then develop jaundice. Jaundice is also one of the killers of our newborns, and so that will go a long way to also support that. And I'm also very happy that the other facilities are also going to receive these equipment, the monitors, the Firefly, the perfusers, so that from the training that they will receive from this project, at their own level, they can also manage those cases there, so that the referrals will reduce. If they even have to refer a client, at least they'll stabilize the client before the referrals. And I think in doing so, it would help reduce our neonatal deaths.
For the beneficiary health facilities, the timely supply of the equipments would help check and improve the quality of healthcare at the primary level. Dr. Amponsa Kinsley is the medical superintendent at the Kintampo South District Hospital.
as reiterated during the sections, having seen neonatal mortality on the rise, maternal mortality and related issues on the rise stillbirth, I believe this particular network and collaboration will go a long way to help us reduce these indicators for it to trend in the right direction. Practically, as mentioned, the logistics that are being produced, that are going to be given to us, will help improve the quality of care that we render at the primary level. So this has come timely. This has come timely.
Reporting for Joy News, Anas Sabit, Tichiman.
Back here in the studio, politicians are using divide and rule to control the rest of us. Well, that's the verdict of policy analyst Dr. Steve Mantiel. He insists Ghana cannot actually prosper unless the New Patriotic Party and the National Democratic Congress tackle issues based on how it affects the socio-economic well-being of citizens instead of the political fortunes of their parties. Dr. Mantiel made the remarks at the Ghana Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative Forum in Sunyani. Precious Semevo reports.
The Bunu and Ahafo Regions Stakeholder Dissemination Forum in Sunyani was to discuss the 2019 Ghana Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative GATI reports for the mining and oil and gas sectors. It also aimed at creating the required public awareness, generating interest and debate on the issues raised in the reports, and pave way for stakeholder engagement on the reports as required by the EITI standard. The National Coordinator for GATI, Alhaji Bashiru Abdul Razak, said the recommendations of the reports inform policy directions of the government.
Government has responded to some of the policy calls in the extractive sector through the policy recommendations that we have been outlining in the course of the production of this report. These discussions will put government on checks to be more financially responsible and accountable on the use of extractive sector revenues. We believe that it is only through this kind of sensitization and engagement among key stakeholders that the issues highlighted in the report will be disseminated.
Speaking to the media, policy analyst and co-chair of GATI, Dr. Steve Mantiel, said there is still more to do to optimize the benefits of natural resources extraction in Ghana.
Up until now, we've managed to ensure that citizens have access to information on how our vital natural resources, and I mean gold, oil and gas, are being managed. What we haven't quite managed to achieve is that critical transition we need to make from transparency to accountability. And what that will entail is we want to see citizens now beginning to use the EITI report, but also the PIAC reports to demand accountability from duty bearers. It may even involve going to court sometimes where it is revealed in this report that the Minister of Finance or whichever public office holders has blatantly flouted the law. We could go to court and seek a mandamus to compel the minister to do what he has to do.
He said discussions on issues and policies that affect the socio-economic well-being of citizens are lost by politicians in the interest of their political fortunes. He noted that until both the NPP and NDC members speak against the ills of government, the country cannot prosper.
Today, I dare say that our politicians are using divide and rule to control the rest of us. And so when there's an issue on the table that affects the socio-economic well-being of the ordinary citizen, rather than to look at it from the perspective of how we are affected, we begin to look at it from the perspective of how it affects, the issue affects the political fortunes of the parties we belong to. First and foremost, to recognize we are Ghanaians before we are party followers. And so when there's an issue on the table, let's look at it as Ghanaians. And the day we begin, both NDC followers and MPP followers begin to identify the problems and the challenges facing this country and actually point it out to the government, that will be the day we begin to see development in this country. But until we do this, and if we continue seeing things from political lenses, that this country is not going to make any headway in its development efforts.
Precious Semevo, Joy News, Sunyani.
We can now cross over to our partners, DW, and speak to Thomas Sparrow on the Russian President Vladimir Putin's latest move to order a partial mobilization, escalating possibly the war in Ukraine. Let's bring in Thomas now. Thomas, how is President Putin's latest address being received by Germany?
Germany's economy minister and vice-chancellor Robert Habeck was quick to react to that announcement by Vladimir Putin, saying that it was a false step, and also stressing 2 points that are particularly important. One, that Germany will continue to support Ukraine. This probably means more political, economic, but also military support to Ukraine, something which has been very controversial here in Germany in the last few days and weeks, but also that Germany will consult on how to react specifically to this latest move by Putin. This probably means that Germany is now discussing, in particular with its European partners, on how to have a common approach to all of this. So what we can expect from this latest move by Vladimir Putin is, on the one hand, Germany strengthening its criticism towards Putin and at the same time focusing more and more on helping Ukraine alongside its European partners.
And we do know that world leaders, for instance, are meeting under the shadow of the Ukraine war. Any major outcomes expected on this very conflict?
There may be some new approaches in some of the meetings that normally happen on the sidelines of the United Nations General Assembly. But when we look at these speeches that have been taking place, what really comes out, what really is important, is the approach that each country is taking. Where do they stand also in regards to these latest moves by Putin? So what countries can ultimately work together to try and find new or common approaches? It is also important not only regarding military action in Ukraine, but also some of the wider implications of the war. For example, food security at a global level or energy prices. Those are also issues that are being discussed at the United Nations General Assembly. But I do not expect that specifically from the speeches we will have major outcomes this time round.
I'm interested now in Olaf Scholz, the German Chancellor. He's addressing the General Assembly of the UN. How has his speech been amongst Germans, and how are they receiving his very first comment at the Assembly?
Well, it was the first time that he addressed the General Assembly. He's only been Chancellor for a few months. So from a German perspective, that was also particularly important. He once again stressed Germany's criticism towards Vladimir Putin, saying that Germany and the West will not accept any peace dictated by Putin, as he put it. And he also, and this is particularly important given the current context, said that the West shouldn't accept any sham referendums. Those are his words, in particular referring to those planned referendums in parts of Ukraine. So again, from a German perspective, what this probably means is stronger criticism of Russia and even more support towards Ukraine.
Thomas Sparrow, thank you for your time. And that's all we have for you here on The Pulse. I am Blessed Sogah. Log on to myjoyonline.com. You have more there.